I'm Aaron Gray, Brisbane-based film photographer. I guess what you'd say my work is, it's a combination of beach, art, mixed media, I guess voyeuristic, some people have explained it as being. But yeah, it's kind of, I leave the interpretation of my photography up to other people and what they see, what they take away from it. When I first started in 2012, that was actually a trip to New York City. I found a Minolta 300 SI that was just sitting in a camera bag that had taken photos of me growing up. I took that to New York with me, not knowing anything about shooting film, just a bag of film, went for it. That kind of started my love affair with film, but since then I went down the Nikon path. Just the interface of a Nikon didn't really connect with me, so I moved across to Canon. I've always kind of shot Canons, whether it's EOS 30s, EOS 3, EOS 1, EOS 5s. Every single film shooter out there will agree that's been shooting for years. They'll try different film stocks, different cameras, different exposure settings, different labs. Like there's so many multiples when it comes to shooting. And then also like Nikonos underwater cameras, love them. They're the only underwater cameras I've used. And then now I've got a Minolta XD7, which is just my bang about lens. I take to parties, I take just to anywhere really, and that's my BTS camera. But I found that I've done a lot of shoots that have ended up massive prints in houses with, a $200 camera off eBay. I just use what works for me. I think that at the start of shooting, when I was getting into more the fashion side of things and wanting to shoot campaigns and, labels, bikinis, swim, beach, all that side of things, you've got your Jason Lee Parrys, your Purines, your Pirot, like those guys nailed it. They know their lighting, they know their shadows, they know how to take an image. So I looked at them at the start of my career, and then as I've progressed, I now follow lots of interior designers, I follow lots of painters, I follow lots of sculptors, and there's just so many people out there doing such a wide array of art, which I think I can incorporate into my imagery, and very provocative and interesting images that you can look at for minutes, not just scrolling on a feed. So I kind of take inspiration now from a variety of people. Digital to me, foreign ground. I've got a 6D and I don't know why I bought it. I bought it maybe just to have in case someone needed to borrow it. I can still obviously work a digital camera, but I just don't enjoy it. I took a digital camera with me, my 6D, to India when I went there for a month. I think it left my camera bag once. So I took it out of my camera bag, took shots for a day, got back, looked at them all on my laptop, and I just wasn't interested at all. I was like, nah, not what I want. Since that day, I've never really used digital, and that's just kind of how I work. But yeah, that was just the way that I went. I was lucky enough to just try everything on film first, learn film, and go down that path. In terms of film, like the stock that I use, my go-to now is just the Portra range. Portra 400 every day of the week, and HP5 Plus when it comes to black and white. And then just metering your film, overexposing a bit, and then communication with your lab. So important. People think that everything is done in camera. Whilst that is important, it is what your lab, how you communicate with them, what you want out of it. Do you want high contrast, low contrast? Do you want your highlights dropped? You have to have that communication with your lab, and that's where I've kind of meshed my look together, I guess. If people want to edit their film afterwards, like go for it. If you're after a certain look, I think what you shoot and what you get back from your lab is the starting point for some people. They need to tweak things, they want to get things to how their eye sees it and what that appeals to them. So I've got nothing against that, and I'm lucky with Ikigai Lab. They're my lab that I use. I've been using them for like 4 years now. Everything I get back from them typically off the scan is how you see it. So I'm super blessed because I'm not sitting there editing 200 images, 300 images from a shoot. So I might remove, any kind of blemishes on the skin or, any dust that might be in the black and white film. But other than that, that's about it. What I found was when I was shooting lots of campaigns and, getting paid by brands to go and shoot their campaign, you don't really have the control or the ownership or the copyright of those images. And from that, you only really get a one-off payment. and then that whole shoot is then scrapped. Not scrapped, but not for my use. But once I started selling individual prints, lining up shoots, shooting them for free, putting all my money into them, I could then reuse those images and make more money from that shoot as opposed to just a one-off shoot. That's not the main reason, it's just money focused. I found that having my pieces in people's houses and having a tangible product at the end that people can hang on the wall, can look at for years to come, to me, that's more appealing in my photography than just something that's used on an e-com and then forgotten about. When I started shooting for prints or having that in mind to what would this look like as a print? What would this look like as an end product? I then took a minute to really step back and look at, okay, composition. How is this going to look? Take my time. Wait for that bird to fly through in the background. If your model's got a little bit of lipstick on her teeth, really stop and look at the detail and go, how is this going to look? How am I framing this? Is her hair going to be all in the one frame? Is her nose centered? Am I shooting in thirds? So I think composition is huge. A lot of people will just fire off images and then later crop in and crop out or to get that composition. But I think also with a negative, a 35mm negative, when you're blowing up to AO plus size, so you're 80 by 120, 100 by 150 centimeter size prints, you don't have a lot of wiggle room to crop in on your 35mm negative without losing resolution. So to me, making sure that I get that frame bang on in camera is important for me. So that's where the detail is in my mind when I'm shooting.
Kind of like the tear as well.
Yeah, because the lab border was only a centimeter. So when they sent it to me, I opened it up and it was like a full print. So it was 80 by 120. And yeah, they only had the 1 centimeter border. So I wanted the 5 centimeter. So then they just said to me, they're like, we're gonna have to just rip it up. So I just ripped it in half and sent them the photo of me just drawing the print, and then they reprinted it for me. But after I did that, I was like, fuck, it actually came out really cool. Yeah. While I was shooting, I was kind of shooting on one side and then painting on the other. And I'd go out and, get some rough cotton rag, do my own painting, a bit of abstract stuff. And that was always just a hobby to clear my mind. Never was focused on selling any of that. And then one day I kind of just thought, hey, what if I use some of these acrylic paints on top of some of my prints and yeah, just give it a crack that way. And then it kind of worked out. I started getting pieces that I really liked and other people really liked. So that's kind of how it snowballed. In terms of the graphic element, I'm still an absolute rookie when it comes to your Photoshop and things like that. But what I'll typically do is I might shoot something, use that image to then overlay in Photoshop with another image I've shot. So I don't use any stock images. I don't use anything that I haven't shot. And that's kind of, I guess, a point of difference as well. But I think combining the two and just being a bit adventurous and trying different things is what appeals to me now. Natural light to me is always my go-to. Always. I have LED lights that I use that are continuous lighting with diffusers and things like that, but rarely ever use them. If I do use them, it's for a product shot, or if someone wants to get like a shoot I did not long ago with handbags and floral arrangements and things like that for a bag company, I set my lights up for that. And then I used a macro lens for that shoot, and for me, that artificial lighting was good. I got what I needed out of it. But 95% of the time, I'm outdoors, I'm indoors using diffuse light, yeah.
But even if you...
I've always worked a corporate job. So I've always been in offices, I've always been in sales, and doing this on the side, in the past 2 years, it's kind of been we'll pay you to do this. How much are your rates? Can you come and do this shoot for us? Can I get a print? Can I get this? Can I get that? And I'm like, wow, there's money to be made here. Why am I not pursuing this? And for a long while, I was like, yeah, I want to do art. I want to be a photographer. I want to sell art. But I never backed myself. I was always it's such a niche area. You need to be a certain somebody. You've got to have connections. But once I got over that thought and stepped into just taking the plunge, it's starting to work out really well. So yeah, I never thought I'd be here, but I'm here now. So I'm not complaining. When it came to putting that book together, I sat there and I thought, okay, let's just go through my archives. Let's have a look at everything that you've shot that stands out to you, that meant something that you liked, that appealed to me. And I didn't really walk into the book with any kind of thought by going, oh, this section's going to be beach and this is going to be fashion, this is going to be abstract. I just kind of put it all together. It was a long process because I basically did everything and dropped images in and then just got proofs done, which cost a lot of money. But as I started getting them done, I just looked at it and thought, by the time I got to the end, I was like, this is it now, this is it. But then, I'd go and do a shoot, and then some of those images from that shoot, I'm like, oh, that could really go in the book, but it's too late. I was like, I'll just save that for another time. I've got a massive stack of Instax and Polaroid images I've taken over the years as well, like more than enough to make a book. So I was sitting there thinking that could be a cool book and just call it Instant. And in that just have all of those BTS images, those images I've taken between shots on my Instax and my Polaroid, and just bang them into a book. So that's definitely going to be the next one. I think when people think Instax, they think of those little, pink, tiny, 2 inch by 1 inch, that people have at parties. That's what I thought of Instax when I first saw it. But then like JLP, Jason Lee Parry, he's got a whole heap of Instax images that he got out of his wide. And when I saw them, I was like, holy shit, like these are really great quality images. So I went down that path, got a wide, and I ended up getting some amazing shots out of it. So it's something I've incorporated into my shooting now. I did have a Polaroid, but when you're paying $40 for 8 images, like it's just ridiculous. So I kind of stepped away from that. I think when people are looking at film photography, especially digital photographers at the moment, they look at it as though I don't even know where to get started. It's all too complicated. What happens if I mess it up? I want to get the best quality gear right now and shoot like they're shooting from day dot. Impossible. You've got to just risk it. You've got to spend thousands of dollars. You've got to try different labs. You've got to try different films. Like, I think you've just got to take the leap. And what I've found with that misconception is once people do that and they start getting awesome images back, that's when the love happens and they go, wow, okay, this is a whole other world. I don't have to edit my digital images to look like film. And between you and I think when I see digital images edited to look like film, it stands out like a sore thumb. Maybe those digital photographers don't think that, but to film photographers, we can just tell straight away. So there is a massive difference there. And I think, but when people get into it, I think that misconception is broken. It's just taken the leap. In terms of all of my travel photography and what I've done on the side that no one has seen, I've got hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of images from India, from America, from all my travels, and amazing photos, I think. But like you said, it's one of those things that it's not necessarily curated into my look at the moment. Not that I purposely sit there and go, oh, well, that photo of a gondola in India doesn't really suit my aesthetic, so I'm not going to post it. I don't know what I'm going to do with those images. I don't know what I'm going to do. Maybe one day I might make a book. Maybe one day I'll release them out. But till then, it's just memories for me. I think capturing the actual day, the person, the feel, the vibe, to me, that tells a better story, that sells a product better. And that's what I tried to do with that shoot for Penang. Was going out there, it was a day out with a couple, and then selling that story. I think it's more just selling an idea, and that's going to be the best way that product can present itself. It is a storytelling tool, photography. My photography, I've taken some things that are very posy, very full on, but to me that tells a story as well. But then, like I said, describing my style of photography being voyeuristic, I always do like to capture those in-between moments. They're the ones that make you feel like you're actually a fly on the wall. You're in the room, you're a part of that shoot. So yeah, definitely I think I'm a storyteller as opposed to just an image capturer. I'd like to see more creativity and expression from the photographers out there. it's all well and good when you get e-com brands and you get like these fast fashion houses that get the same photographer week in, week out to shoot all of their content. But to me, it just all looks the same. It's all a bit boring. There's no real edginess to it. I think what I'd like to see is people pushing the envelope, really testing their creativity and then creating a brand for themselves. Because if you start just taking images and styles from the dozens of other photographers out there, then you become a bit expendable, you know, if your pricing gets too high, if the next person comes out that wants to undercut you with prices, those brands don't typically have any loyalty, so they're going to go to that person. So I'd say it would be for people to push their creativity, really cement their name in their work, and then yeah, if I see more of that, I'll be stoked. But it's happening now. I follow heaps of photographers in Brisbane and southeast Queensland and around Australia that I look at and I'm like, shit, that work is awesome. So yeah, that's what I'd like to see.